In the early hours of November 9, 2025, the Philippines faced a nightmare it had feared for days. Super Typhoon Uwan, known locally as Uwan, roared in from the Pacific with sustained winds near 115 km/h and gusts up to 140 mph, slamming into the eastern coastline of Luzon. Within minutes, power grids collapsed, roofs tore away, and walls crumbled under the relentless wind. The storm's massive circulation, stretching nearly 1,000 miles wide, engulfed two-thirds of the archipelago, leaving the nation shrouded in rain and darkness. From Catanduanes to Aurora, from Camarines Sur to Manila, millions of lives were suddenly at the mercy of nature's fury. For a country already reeling from past storms, this wasn't just another typhoon, it was a test of endurance, unity, and faith. As the first light broke through storm clouds, one truth became clear: the Philippines was once again fighting for survival.
This might be a big one. Yeah, here it is. That's a big one.
Yan na sa dagat! Dali na sa motor! Yan na sa dagat!
As darkness blanketed the Philippines, Super Typhoon Uwan slammed into Aurora province with a force that shook the earth itself. At 9:10 p.m. local time, the storm made landfall winds howling trees, snapping like twigs, and ocean waves rising higher than rooftops. Entire coastal towns vanished under the onslaught as seawater rushed inland, swallowing streets, cars, and homes within minutes. The Philippine Weather Bureau issued the highest alert signal number 5 warning of catastrophic winds and life-threatening surges. In Catanduanes and Camarines, Norte electricity poles crashed onto flooded roads while communication lines went dead. Local authorities lost contact with several towns as wind gusts over 140 mph tore through neighborhoods. By midnight, more than 1 million residents were already in evacuation centers, schools, gymnasiums, and churches now doubling as temporary shelters. The government deployed over 1,500 military and rescue personnel, but even they struggled against nature's force. From the coast of Bicol to the heart of Luzon, the storm's roar drowned out everything, a monstrous sound that survivors later described as a never-ending train crashing through the night. The country had seen typhoons before, but this was different. This was the storm that felt alive. When dawn broke over Luzon, the devastation was staggering. Super Typhoon Uwan had turned thriving towns into oceans of debris. Streets disappeared beneath waist-deep floodwaters, power lines tangled like vines, and shattered glass glistened across roads once busy with morning markets. In Aurora, entire neighborhoods were reduced to twisted steel and splintered wood. In Catanduanes, one of the hardest-hit province's families clung to rooftops as rescue boats fought raging currents to reach them. The Philippine Coast Guard deployed helicopters and inflatable rafts navigating submerged highways where houses once stood. "We didn't sleep, we just prayed," said one survivor, her voice trembling as she described watching waves slam into her home. Manila, though spared, the direct hit was not untouched. Billboards collapsed, trees crushed vehicles, and several districts were plunged into darkness as heavy rain overwhelmed the drainage systems. Flights were canceled, ports shut down, and thousands stranded as public transportation ground to a halt. By mid-morning, officials reported nearly 900,000 displaced residents, a number rising by the hour. Hospitals ran on generators, and volunteers distributed food and water to overcrowded shelters. The storm had not just crippled infrastructure, it had tested the nation's spirit, forcing millions to confront the raw, unrelenting power of the Pacific.
Oh my God!
Yolanda.
When the winds finally eased, what remained was heartbreak. Fung Uwan left behind a scar that stretched from the coastal villages of Aurora to the farmlands of Isabella. At least 2 confirmed deaths were reported within hours of landfall, a woman crushed under debris and a man swept away by floodwaters, but authorities feared the number would rise as rescuers reached isolated towns. Over 1 million people had fled their homes. Families slept on cold gymnasium floors, their belongings packed into plastic bags. Children clutched donated blankets while parents searched for loved ones still missing. Across the country, over 300 flights were canceled, cutting off travel and supply routes. In farming regions, crops lay flattened beneath a sea of mud. Rice fields, the backbone of local livelihoods, were destroyed just weeks before harvest. Livestock drowned in barns, and fishermen returned to find their boats shattered or gone entirely. Amid the despair stories of survival emerged neighbors rescuing neighbors. Teachers turning classrooms into emergency kitchens, soldiers wading through waist-deep water to carry the elderly to safety. The storm had stolen so much, yet in its wake, it revealed something deeper: the strength of a nation that refuses to surrender even when the world itself seems to collapse around it.
Wow! Oh my God!
Meteorologists described Fung Uwan as a perfect storm, one fueled by the ocean itself. Over the Philippine sea surface, temperatures reached nearly 86 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees, providing an enormous reserve of heat and moisture. This warm water acted like jet fuel, allowing the typhoon to intensify rapidly within 24 hours, a phenomenon scientists call rapid intensification. Experts from the Japan Meteorological Agency and the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center noted that Fung Uwan's wind field stretched over 1,000 miles, making it one of the most expansive storms to strike the region in the past decade. Atmospheric instability and the absence of strong wind shear allowed the cyclone's core to strengthen uninterrupted as it spun toward Luzon. But beyond meteorology lay a larger truth, one written in the patterns of a warming planet. Rising sea surface temperatures linked to climate change are giving typhoons more power and longevity. In the Philippines, a nation hit by an average of 20 tropical storms each year, this means more destructive winds, higher storm surges, and heavier rainfall than ever before. Scientists warn that Fung Uwan may not be the last of its kind, but rather a sign of what's to come, storms growing stronger, faster, and less predictable in a rapidly changing climate. In the wake of Super Typhoon Fung Uwan, the Philippines mounted one of its largest emergency responses in years. The Armed Forces Philippine Coast Guard and National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council deployed more than 1,500 personnel and 240 rescue teams across Luzon. Helicopters hovered over flooded towns, airdropping relief packs as rescue boats ferried survivors to higher ground. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared a national state of emergency, ordering the immediate release of disaster funds and coordination between government agencies. Lives first. Everything else can be rebuilt, he said in a televised address. Military trucks delivered food, water, and medicine to evacuation centers, while local mayors broadcast safety updates over battery-powered radios. International aid soon followed. The United States, Japan, and the European Union pledged logistical and humanitarian support, while Red Cross teams began distributing blankets and hygiene kits. Across the nation, volunteers mobilized students, packed relief goods, church groups cooked hot meals, and business owners donated generators to shelters. Despite logistical challenges and blocked roads, operations pressed on. The storm had paralyzed transportation, but not determination. From Manila to the farthest mountain villages, the message was the same: help is coming. The response became not just a rescue mission, but a powerful reflection of unity in the face of catastrophe.
Aabutin mo na! Aabutin mo na!
As Super Typhoon Uwan tore across Luzon, the rainfall turned relentless. Within hours, rivers burst their banks and entire communities vanished under walls of water. In Catanduane's streets turned into rivers. In Aurora, fishing boats were tossed inland like toys. Satellite imagery showed a storm system nearly 1,000 miles wide blanketing most of the Philippines in a massive swirl of rain and wind. In the province of Camarines Norte, floodwaters climbed to chest height, submerging cars and trapping families inside their homes. Emergency teams used inflatable rafts to navigate what were once busy roads. In Quezon storm, surges up to 10 feet high overwhelmed coastal defenses, tearing apart seawalls and scattering fishing nets miles inland. Manila's skyline faded behind sheets of rain as floodwaters poured into Marikina and Pasig. Power outages spread across the capital while hospitals switched to backup generators. Even as wind speeds began to drop, the water kept rising slow, unstoppable, and merciless. By evening, thousands were stranded across the northern provinces, their homes swallowed by mud and debris. What had started as a wind disaster had become a national flood emergency, leaving the country struggling to breathe beneath the storm's weight. The nightmare had only just begun.
This might be a big one. Yeah, here it is. That's a big one.
Yan na sa dagat. Dalhin na sa motor. Yan na sa dagat.
When the winds died down and the skies cleared, the silence was almost unbearable. Across Luzon, communities stood amid what looked like a war zone. Broken homes, tangled power lines, and fields turned into oceans of mud. Yet, within that silence, something extraordinary began to emerge: hope. Neighbors who once barely spoke now shared food and shelter. Volunteers cleared debris from schools so children could return to class. In evacuation centers, songs and prayers filled the night as families reminded each other that survival itself was victory. The Philippines has faced countless storms, but each one leaves behind not only scars, but lessons. Uwan was more than a natural disaster. It was a warning from a changing planet and a testament to human resilience. As the nation rebuilds, the world must take note. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's here, reshaping lives in real time. Like, share, and subscribe, not just to stay informed, but to stand united for climate awareness, preparedness, and the unbreakable human spirit that rises after every storm.